Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sort through the noise to bring you clear insights from the sources you share. Today, we're jumping into a really big topic, one that feels like a major fault line for a lot of people. Science versus religion. Is it really one or the other? A choice you have to make. Or perhaps can these two seemingly opposing worlds actually, well, coexist, maybe even enrich each other? We're going to look at some pretty surprising connections today. Think ethics in AI, the deep mysteries of the cosmos. Yeah, get ready to maybe question some things you thought you knew.
And that's exactly what this deep dive is about. We want to challenge that familiar story, the one that pits science against faith. We're aiming to uncover how they actually intersect, sometimes in really profound ways, maybe even bridging that divide and giving you a, let's say, fuller picture of reality.
Okay, let's dive right into that. This idea that science and religion are just, enemies. It feels almost baked in, doesn't it? We hear about Galileo, the constant debates over evolution. It's like the default assumption. I even saw an ex-post last year, 2023, from a science communicator basically asking, you can't believe in God and trust science, right? Like, it's obvious.
And that's exactly the point we need to unpack because, honestly, that feeling of conflict often comes down to a misunderstanding, a really fundamental one.
Okay.
It's that science and religion, well, they usually aren't even trying to answer the same types of questions. Science is all about the how. How does the world work? It uses evidence, experiments, things you can test.
Right, the mechanics.
Exactly. Mechanisms, processes, facts we can verify. Religion, though, tends to explore the why. Why are we here? What's the meaning of it all? It offers purpose, a moral compass. This whole idea of a constant war between them, it's often called the conflict thesis, became popular back in the 19th century. Folks like John William Draper pushed it. But frankly, it really oversimplifies both science and religion.
So it's not accurate.
Not really, no. There was a great piece in Nature just this year, 2024, arguing pretty much that science and religion aren't naturally enemies. They're just different ways of understanding, distinct modes.
Different modes, like...
It's like science measures how gravity works or maps out DNA, the physical stuff. Religion wrestles with the big existential questions. What is morality? Is there such a thing as a soul?
So if they're asking different things, why does this conflict narrative stick around so strongly? Is it just people getting confused about those roles? Or is something else fueling it, making people feel like they have to pick a side?
I think it's mostly that confusion. When you try to make science answer the why questions or demand religious texts provide scientific mechanisms, well, that's when you get friction.
Right. Using the wrong tool for the job, basically.
Exactly. It creates this unnecessary tension, this feeling you have to defend one against the other instead of seeing if they can, offer different pieces of the puzzle, which is a real shame. It limits our view.
Okay, that distinction between how and why is clear. But how does that actually look in practice? Can you give an example where using both lenses together gives us a richer picture than just one on its own?
Absolutely. Let's take cosmology, the study of the universe. Science, like in that 2025 Astrophysical Journal study, gives us the Big Bang. It traces the universe expanding over 13.8 billion years. The physics, the timeline, the how.
Okay, the mechanics.
Right. But then a religious perspective might come in and ask why. Why is there a universe at all? It offers those creation narratives, stories about meaning and purpose behind it all.
So it's not science or religion, but science and religion. Adding layers. That feels like a really different way to look at it.
That's the idea. They don't cancel each other out. They complement each other, provide the data and the significance. Someone on a Reddit philosophy thread in 2023 put it nicely. Science tells us how the stars burn. Faith asks why they shine.
I like that. How they burn versus why they shine. Okay, cosmology makes sense, but what about something like evolution? That one feels like a direct clash for so many people. How do your complementary lenses work there?
That's a really important one because evolution explains the mechanism, the biological how of life developing and diversifying over time.
The process.
The process, exactly. It doesn't inherently rule out a divine purpose behind that process, you see? And look, this isn't some fringe idea. Pew Research Center's survey from 2024 found that 60% of Americans actually think science and religion can go together, especially when you talk about ethics or human purpose.
60%. That's quite high.
It is. It shows that for many people, it's not this zero-sum game it's often made out to be.
This idea of harmony also hits another common myth, right? The idea that you can't be a serious scientist and be religious.
Oh, absolutely. That's just plain wrong.
History's full of counterexamples, and so is the present day. I mean, look at Brother Guy Consolmagno. He's a Jesuit astronomer, and he directs the Vatican Observatory. Talk about embodying harmony.
He really does. I remember a BBC interview he did in 2025. He was talking about studying meteorites, and he described it as a way to marvel at God's creation. His faith doesn't block his science, it actually seems to motivate it, gives it a layer of awe.
And he's not alone, is he?
Not at all. There was a survey in the journal Science in 2023 found that about 40% of working scientists in the U.S. identify as religious, and many of them explicitly say they see their research as exploring the complexity of, well, divine creation.
And thinking historically. Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, he was a monk.
Right.
George Lemaitre, the guy who first proposed the Big Bang Theory, a Catholic priest.
Exactly. These weren't people choosing sides. Their faith and their science often pushed each other forward. It's like that Filipino scientist on X in 2024 said, "My Catholic faith inspires my research. It's about seeking truth, not choosing sides." For them, it's two paths toward understanding.
Okay, so if they ask different questions, and scientists can absolutely be people of faith, where do science and religion really connect? Where do they genuinely intersect? I'm guessing it's in those really messy areas, the ones needing ethical guidance.
You're spot on. Bioethics is a huge one. Think about genetic engineering, like CRISPR. That tool lets us edit genes with incredible precision. Or AI in medicine, systems making autonomous decisions. These raise massive moral questions.
Like, should we edit human embryos? Can we let an AI decide who gets intensive care?
Precisely. And a 2025 article in the Journal of Bioethical Inquiry pointed this out. Religious perspectives, which often stress things like human dignity, Catholic teachings on the sanctity of life, for example, they really inform these debates. They work alongside the scientific data. It's not just about hitting the brakes. It's about asking what kind of future we want to build with these powerful tools, guiding the purpose. Another big area, environmental stewardship, climate change.
Ah, yes. Huge.
Science gives us the hard data. The 2025 IPCC report confirms global temperatures are up 1.1 degrees Celsius already, undeniable. But then religious traditions often provide the moral push for action. Think Pope Francis's encyclical, Laudato Si', back in 2015, a call to care for our common home.
So science shows the problem. Religion provides a motivation to fix it.
In many cases, yes. A 2024 study on religion and ecology found something like 70% of global faith communities actually support climate action. That's a powerful alignment. And one more, maybe slightly less obvious one, consciousness and free will.
Ooh, the big mysteries.
Right. Science is still grappling with consciousness. A 2023 Nature neuroscience study mapped brain activity linked to it the where, but couldn't explain the subjective feeling, the actual experience of being conscious.
A hard problem.
Exactly. And that's where religious traditions, maybe like Buddhism with its focus on mindfulness or Christianity with its concept of the soul, offer these deep philosophical insights into who we are, free will, identity. They complement the scientific search. They don't necessarily contradict it.
It really seems like these intersections show collaboration is not just possible, but happening. They tackle questions that, honestly, neither science nor religion can fully answer alone. It gives you a much more complete view, maybe.
That's a great way to put it, a more complete view. But, despite all this potential, the challenges are still very real.
Right. It's not all smooth sailing.
No.
Okay.
Misconceptions are powerful. They fuel distrust. You still have some religious groups rejecting established science, like evolution or climate change. And on the flip side, some scientists who dismiss faith entirely, calling it irrational.
Is there data on how widespread that irreconcilable view is?
Yeah, a 2025 Guardian article mentioned about 15% of Americans see them as fundamentally in conflict. Often, that comes from very literal interpretations of religious texts. You see real-world consequences, like ongoing debates about teaching evolution in schools in places like the Philippines, where, according to 2024 stats, 80% of the population is Catholic.
And the media. Well, conflict sells, doesn't it? Stories like the Dover trial back in 2005 over intelligent design get a lot more airtime than stories of quiet coexistence.
They do. That Reddit thread on science communication from 2023 actually had people calling for less sensationalism, more dialogue, a focus on shared goals, like seeking truth, instead of just the flashpoints.
Okay, so acknowledging the challenges, what are the paths forward? How do we actually encourage more of that coexistence and dialogue?
Well, dialogue and understanding are the starting point. Number one, education. We need to teach the different roles clearly. Science for the how, religion for the why. There was a UK curriculum initiative in 2024 that tried this, and apparently it showed positive results in reducing perceived conflict.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, support those interfaith science dialogues. Places like the Vatican Observatory or the AAA's DOSSER program, Dialogue on Science, Ethics, and Religion. Getting scientists and faith leaders actually talking to each other, which DOSSER was actively doing in 2025, is huge. Third, highlight the role models. We talked about Brother Guy Consolmagno. Francis Collins, former head of the NIH, is another, a top scientist and a devout Christian. Sharing their stories shows it's possible, it's real.
Right, make the harmony visible.
Exactly. Fourth, focus on common goals. We mentioned climate change, bioethics. These issues actually unite science and religion around shared human values. You saw that in global summits on AI ethics in 2025. And finally, challenge the stereotypes. In the media and our conversations, amplify the stories of harmony, the interfaith conferences, the collaborations, to counter that dominant conflict narrative.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't just theoretical. Millions of people right now are living this harmony every single day. They're the living proof against the conflict myth.
Absolutely. Think about institutions like Ateneo de Manila University in the Philippines. It's Jesuit-run, and it actively integrates science and faith. They produce researchers who just don't see a conflict. There was a feature in the Manila Bulletin in 2025 about a Filipino biologist there. She apparently prays before experiments, seeing her work as uncovering God's design.
That's a powerful image.
It is, and it's global. You have Muslim scientists like the physicist Jim Al-Khalili, Hindu researchers working at CERN on cutting-edge particle physics. A 2024 Nature profile highlighted folks blending deep faith with hardcore science. These lived experiences, they matter. Remember that Pew survey from 2023? 65% of religious people globally see science as compatible with their beliefs, especially if you frame both as, like, quest for truth. It suggests the gap. Well, it's maybe not as wide as we often think.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the big takeaway seems clear. Science and religion don't have to be enemies. They can actually be partners in this grand project of understanding our world.
Yeah.
Science gives us these incredible tools, the how and the what.
Mm-hmm. While religion often provides the why, the meaning, the purpose, and as we saw where they intersect bioethics, cosmology, caring for the planet, they reveal these shared goals.
Yes.
Seeking truth, defining ethics, working towards human flourishing.
And people like Brother Guy Consolmagno, Gregor Mendel, and just millions of scientists of faith today show us this harmony isn't just a nice idea, it's real, it's happening.
So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. How could fostering more open dialogue, challenging those old stereotypes, and maybe embracing these complementary views in your own life, how might that reveal deeper truths about our existence than either science or faith could ever find on its own?